Good evening, we're learning Parshat Vayigash. We're using the Art Scroll Chumash and we are on page 251. Last week we learned about the great challenge that the brothers of Yosef faced. Yosef accused them of being spies. He put one of the brothers in a dungeon, Shimon. The brothers had to go home and tell the father of the sad news that not only they don't have Yosef, but now they lost Shimon, and not only that, now they have to bring Binyamin. And Yaakov didn't allow them to take Binyamin until he had no choice. Until there was no more food, the famine was still continuing. Of course, this was a grand master plan of Hashem in order to bring Yaakov and his family to Egypt in honor, while Yosef is still the viceroy, and to bring about the prophecy that was foretold to Avraham Avinu that his children will be slaves in a land not their own for 400 years. And Yaakov sent the 9 brothers together with Binyamin to try to bring Shimon back and buy some more food. And when they came, Yosef seemingly treated them well and released Shimon and had a nice lavish meal with them and sent them home. But he placed his silver goblet into Binyamin's sack and accused him of theft, and now he wants Binyamin to be his slave. And now we come to this week's Parshat, page 251. Then Yehuda approached him and said, now the brothers are standing again in front of Yosef with the possibility that they will not see Binyamin ever again, and that they will have to go to Yaakov and give him the sad news that both children of his beloved wife Rachel disappeared, Yosef and now Binyamin. And that will be a tremendous blow, and that it may even kill Yaakov. And that's what Yehuda is trying to relate to Yosef. And he says, if you please, my Lord, may your servant speak a word in my Lord's ears, and let your anger not flare up at your servant. He's speaking very politely with great reverence, and he is trying to appease Yosef. He doesn't know he is Yosef. He thinks this is a cruel, evil leader of Egypt, and he's trying to play on his emotions and try to convince him to be more compassionate. And he relates the story how he started asking them private questions that he didn't ask any other buyers, and how they honestly revealed to him information about their father and about their little brother, and then he hooked on that information and asked them to bring proof. And if we skip to verse 30, and now if I come to your servant my father, and the youth and Binyamin is not with us, since his soul is bound up with his soul, since Yaakov loves Binyamin, his only remaining survivor from his wife, it will happen that when he sees the youth is missing, he will die, and your servants will have brought down the gray hair of your servant our father in sorrow to the grave. And now on page 253, verse 32, Yehuda is explaining why specifically he, out of all the brothers, is speaking with Yosef. For your servant took responsibility for the youth from my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I will have sinned to my father for all the time. So he adds a third reason why Yosef should let Binyamin go. Number one, Binyamin himself, he claims, is innocent. It was a setup. Plus, Binyamin has a large family. Binyamin has 10 children. Additionally, Yaakov, his father, will not be able to handle Binyamin's disappearance. If it's any other son, it will be easier. Please replace him with me. I will volunteer, because I am one of 6 children of Leah, and if I stay as a slave, my father will mourn, but he will still have 5 more sons of his wife Leah. But Binyamin is the only remaining son of Rachel. If he disappears, Yaakov will not be able to handle, and Yaakov will die. That's reason number one. First, have mercy on Binyamin. Second, have mercy on Yaakov. And thirdly, Yehuda says, have mercy on me, because I promised to my father that I will bring Binyamin back. And if I don't do it, I forfeited my Olam Haba. I promised to my father that if I don't bring Binyamin, I am giving up not only this life, but the life in the world to come. I put everything on the line. Please have mercy on me and allow Binyamin to go back to his father, and I will stay as the servant, as your slave. This way, Binyamin will come back to his large family, and he is the youngest among all the brothers. His children need him most. Number two, our father Yaakov will survive. And number three, I will gain my Olam Haba. So again, verse 33, now therefore please let your servant, meaning Yehuda, remain as a slave instead of the youth as a servant for my Lord, and let Binyamin go up with his brothers to the father. For how can I go up to my father if the youth is not with me, lest I see the evil that will befall my father? And now, at this moment of great despair for the brothers, at this moment when they don't know what's going to be, at the moment when, if the seemingly evil leader of Egypt will remain stubborn, they will be faced with a choice, either to give up and to retreat and go back to their father empty-handed, without Binyamin, and live for the rest of their life without Yosef, without Binyamin, and seeing their father die. Or they have to make another difficult choice, and that is to start a fight, start a battle, start a war, and potentially die trying to protect Binyamin. And very, very difficult moment. What is going to be? And for Yosef, it's a very difficult moment as well. He was away from his father and his brothers for 22 years. He missed them, but at the same time, he knows that it's a very crucial time. He knows that they sinned. He knows that they need atonement. He knows that if he doesn't provide them with atonement, they will have to suffer in the future. He knows that for hurting a human being and causing him so many years of suffering, they need to go through some suffering themselves, and he is trying to give them this measured suffering so that they are cleansed of their sin. And it's very difficult for him because he doesn't want to see his brothers suffer. He doesn't want to see his brothers so scared. And he's pulled in two directions. On one hand, he wants to stop their suffering and give them the good news that he is Yosef. On the other hand, as a surgeon who knows he needs to perform operation, and he knows that it hurts, and he has to operate without anesthesia, and the patient is screaming and suffering, but the surgeon knows that I have to continue cutting and I have to continue hurting the patient because I will save his life through it. And now in chapter 45 verse 1, the Torah tells us that Yosef cannot stand any longer seeing his brothers suffering. Now Yosef could not restrain himself in the presence of all who stood before him. He sees that he cannot control himself. He is going to stop the test, he's going to stop the surgery, and he'll have to reveal himself. But he doesn't want to do it in front of Egyptians. He doesn't want to embarrass his brothers. He doesn't want Egyptians to know that he was tricking them, that he was playing games. And therefore he screamed out, "Remove everyone from before me." Thus no one remained with him when Yosef made himself known to his brothers. Yosef is now alone with his 11 brothers. They don't know what's going on yet. They see that all the guards and all the ministers, all the officials are leaving. The doors are closed, and now it's just Yosef and 11 of them. And Yosef is putting himself in grave danger, because if they act quickly, they may take the opportunity and strike him and kill him before he has a chance to tell them that he is their brother. But nevertheless, he decides to take this risk, and he remains alone with them. And he quickly cries in a loud voice, such a loud voice that Egyptians outside of the hall hear, and Paro's household hear. And Yosef said to his brothers, "I am Yosef." And of course, they are shocked. They don't believe it. And he continues screaming, "Is my father still alive?" Now finally, after he revealed himself, he can ask for an honest answer. Is my father alive? 22 years I didn't see him. He is a very old man now. I want to make sure I can see him before he dies. And the reason why he's asking again, even though the brothers spoke about Yaakov being alive, is because he suspects that they spoke about their father only as an excuse why Yosef should be compassionate towards them. But he doesn't know. Maybe they're lying. Maybe the father is not alive anymore. So he's asking, "Tell me if he is alive." But his brothers could not answer him because they were shocked before him. And there was a long silence, with Yosef looking at them and they looking at him in shock and looking at each other. What did we just witness? What did we just hear? This is Yosef? This is our brother? who told us that we will bow down to him, and we just bow down to him. They are embarrassed, they are still scared, because now they realize what is going on. He was treating them as spies and accusing them of theft and wanted to take them as slaves, and perhaps he's going to continue it. Perhaps he is angry at them. And now that he revealed himself, the roles will reverse. Until now he was saying he'll take Binyamin as a slave, but perhaps now Binyamin will be the only one who is going to go home, and all other brothers are going to stay as slaves, or maybe will be killed. They don't know yet what's in his heart, and therefore they are shocked and scared. Then Yosef said to his brothers, "Come close to me, if you please." And they came close. Slowly he's trying to convince them that he's still their brother, that he does not wish them bad. And he said again, "I am Yosef, your brother. It is me whom you sold into Egypt." He's giving them information that only he would know, thereby proving that he is Yosef. And now, don't be distressed, and don't accuse yourselves for having sold me here, for it was to be a provider that God sent me ahead of you. Yosef understands how much pain they're going through now. Pain that is even greater than a few moments ago before he revealed himself. And Yosef is trying to appease them and calm them down. Don't worry, it's not as bad as you think. Hashem arranged it in such a way, Hashem planted these thoughts in your mind, and the decision to sell me to Egyptians was from Hashem, because now I can provide you with food. And he continues to explain in verse 6, "For this has been 2 of the hunger years in the midst of the land, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. And therefore what you thought was not good, I'm telling you, this is the best thing that ever happened to me and to you. Through your sale, I became the king of Egypt. And through your mistake, Hashem is saving you from certain death, from famine. Thus, God has sent me ahead of you to ensure your survival in the land and to sustain you for a momentous deliverance. And now, it was not you who sent me here, but God." And this is an important idea to keep in mind. A person is judged for his mistakes. He is judged for his decisions. But a person is not judged for the outcome. The person is only judged for the decision to do right or wrong. The outcome is from Hashem. And therefore, it's very easy to change the decision. All you have to do is change your decision right now. Take upon yourself that if you are ever faced with the same choice, you will make the right choice. And go back in time and say, I'm imagining how I am going through the events of many years ago. And I am, while in my mind being back in time, I'm making the decision to do what's right. and I regret of making the wrong decision. And I ask forgiveness from Hashem and from the person that I sinned against. And through that we erase the past, and through that we achieve complete forgiveness. But what about the fact that the person suffered? What about the fact that the person may still be suffering till this day because of our past actions? How can we undo that? And we cannot undo that. And it's not our role to undo it. Because Yosef is teaching us, it is not you who did it, but God. You may have wanted to kill me, but God didn't let. You wanted to get rid of me, so Hashem sent the caravan of Ishmaelites to pass specifically next to you so that you get an idea to sell me. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. And therefore don't feel bad. All you have to feel bad about is the decision to hate me, the decision to be jealous of me, but the fact that you sent me to Egypt was not up to you. God has made me father to Paro, which means Paro is like a puppet, Paro is like a baby, and Yosef is his father. Yosef is the one that is making decisions in the entire Egypt. And I'm master of his entire household and the ruler throughout the entire land of Egypt. Now we're on page 255. He appeased them, showed them that it's all for the best. Now they will be able to survive because Yosef is in charge of all the food in the world. And he pointed out that it's not their responsibility for the outcome that happened. The fact that Yosef ended up in Egypt was up to God. Verse 9. Now, without waiting for their answer, he wants to break some more ice, and he gives them practical instruction. Hurry, go up to my father and say to him, so said your son Yosef, God has made me master of all Egypt. Now we have to stop the suffering of our father. Quickly go and inform him that Yosef is alive. And not only that, he is the leader of Egypt. And give him a second message. Come down to me. Do not delay. You will reside in the land of Goshen, and you will be near to me, you, your sons and your grandchildren, and all your animals and everything that is yours. And I will provide for you there, because there will be 5 more years of famine, so you do not become destitute and your whole household. And Yosef is not done. He's trying to convince them even more that he is Yosef and that he is friendly towards them. Behold, your eyes see, as do the eyes of my brother Binyamin, that it is my mouth that is speaking to you. He is equating Binyamin with the rest of the brothers to say that just like I love Binyamin, so too I love all of you. Therefore, tell my father of all my glory in Egypt and all that you saw, but you must hurry and bring my father down here. And they're still silent, they're still shocked. So Yosef goes on to the next stage. Verse 14. Then he fell upon his brother Binyamin's neck and cried. And Binyamin wept upon Yosef's neck. He then kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. Doesn't say the brothers are crying or hugging him. Yosef is going first to Binyamin and crying with him. Binyamin is crying. Then he goes from one brother to another, and brothers are dry. They have no words. No, they're so shocked. And he goes and cries on every brother's shoulder. And afterwards, all these things, all these speeches, and all the crying, his brothers conversed with him. Only at the end can they utter a word. Now, verse 16. Paro is happy, and he invites Joseph's family to Egypt as well. The news was heard in Paro's palace, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. And it was pleasing in the eyes of Paro and in the eyes of his servants. And that is for two reasons. Number one, until now, Joseph was a lone wolf. He was an alien and descendant of slaves, and it was embarrassing for a country like Egypt to have a leader who is a foreigner and descendant of slaves. And it was embarrassing for Paro to have a viceroy, a grand advisor, who is a nobody from an unknown family. And now that Joseph's family is coming and they are great in their own right, it's honorable for Egypt and it's honorable for Paro. And the second reason is, Paro says, if Joseph is so great, must be all his brothers and his father are equally as great, and now I will have many servants like Joseph. So Paro is thinking how great Egypt will become with so many Jews moving in. Paro said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your animals and go directly to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your household and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. And do this, take for yourselves from the land of Egypt wagons for your small children and for your wives. Transport your father and come. And let your eyes not take pity on your belongings. For the best of all the land of Egypt, it is yours. So Paro is very generous, giving. He wants Yaakov to come for sure. Don't say no. And he wants him to come quick. He's even supplying transportation. Now, as you remember, Joseph promised the Jewish people the land of Goshen. Paro just said, I'll give you the best. He didn't mention Goshen. And we will see that at the end, Paro did agree to give Jewish people Goshen. And why was it that Yosef asked for the land of Goshen? And there were a few reasons for that. Number one, land of Goshen was on the outskirts of Egypt. It was on the edge of the country. And Yosef didn't want the Jewish people to live in the midst of Egyptians. He wanted them to be out of sight, so that they shouldn't be tempted and influenced by the evil, immoral Egyptian society. And number two, he didn't want Egyptians to be looking at the Jewish people and being jealous, saying things like, look at these people, they came from another country, they're immigrants, and now they've become greater than we. And a third reason was because when Abraham, Joseph's great grandfather, when Abraham visited Egypt with Sarah, Paro kidnapped Sarah. And then when he was punished, he returned Sarah, and he gave Sarah and Abraham a lot of money, possessions, as well as a plot of land. And that region that Paro gave was Goshen. And Yosef said,